All right, happy Friday, guys. We got a great discussion going on today with the rates changing as much as they have. The big question that we're getting a lot lately is, what do I do, man? I don't know if I can buy. Should I buy now? Should I wait for rates to come down? Is the market going to soften? What's going to happen? None of us know. We don't know, right? I'll give you my opinion, but nobody knows. My opinion is this. Right now, looking at the fact that, comparing it back to maybe 07, 08, 09 when the market tanked, there was so much inventory. And there's just not inventory now. There just isn't. Now, if we see inventory come up, and I'm talking 3-4 times the amount that we've got, maybe we're going to have a neutral or even get into a buyer's market. But that's going to take some time. That's not something that's likely going to happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? That might take 2, 3, 4 years. That's my opinion, right? Rates do not seem to be coming down. In fact, I want to say it was 2-3 days ago, they just increased the rates at the Fed by 0.5%. All right. And a lot of these banks, they're basing their rates off the Fed rate. So when that rate goes up 0.5%, guess what? Mortgage rates go up roughly 0.5%, right? So looking at the fact that they're trying to curb inflation, and that is the biggest process that they use, increasing rates to do that, I don't see for the next 6 to 12 months those rates coming down to what we saw 6 to 12 months ago, right? I don't see that. Do I know that? I have no idea, but this is all my opinion based on what I'm seeing in the market, right? I think if anything, rates are going to stay where they're at, hopefully, because we see inflation stop. But if inflation continues to go up, we could see rates continue to go up, right? So we'll see. So with all those things in place, right, then the question becomes, okay, so what do I do now, Joe? What, as a buyer, is my strategy moving forward? I would say this. I see a lot of people who get so scared about the news, scared about what they hear from others, that they don't reach out and actually do the math for themselves. Always, always, always. This is a business lesson. This is a life lesson. And it's certainly a lesson for somebody who's buying a home right now. Get in front of somebody and learn the numbers. For you to sit down in front of a lender and ask them numbers and run, hey, what would a $300, a $400, a $500, a $600,000 home cost me at this rate, with this much down, at this rate, with this much down, and keep running those numbers, you can get all that done in 10, 15 minutes, and you will be incredibly educated, at least educated enough to make a good, solid, intelligent decision, right? Now, that leads me to my second point. That intelligent decision may be to purchase a home. That intelligent decision may be to stay where you're at, especially if you're owning right now, right? If you own right now and your rate, my rate on my home right now, 2.25%. You think I'm moving? I ain't moving. I can find a better home at a great price. My butt ain't going nowhere because I like my rate, man. I like my rate maybe better than I like my house, to be honest. So I'm not going anywhere. So if you currently own, I'm not saying move or don't move, but consider it in the equation. Can I stay? Now, there's always a reason people move. It could be a million things, right? New job, divorce, we just had kids, we need a bigger place, I'm moving to a new area, whatever it is, right? You have to weigh the pain of not achieving that goal against the pain of taking on a rate that's probably in the sixes, right? Now, I say that, and every lender's going to get upset for me for saying that. That rate is a rate that I had on a couple different clients over the last maybe week. And it depends on your credit score and a million other things and the loan you're using. So take that with a grain of salt. But what I will say is the rates are considerably higher, right? They just are. No matter what lender you go with, they're going to be considerably higher. So I'm not saying don't buy. I'm not saying do buy. I'm saying you have to add it all into the equation, right? A lot of people will say rates are so high, I'm going to wait for rates to go down. You might be waiting 2-3 years. And if you do the math and you're renting, your rent is probably going to go up. I've seen people whose rent has gone up by 100%, right? It's doubled. I've seen people whose rent goes up 50%. This is normal right now. And it's not, this is my opinion, it's not that people are even being greedy. They're asking market numbers. These are numbers they can get. Why wouldn't they get them, right? They're giving you a good, you're giving them money, period. It's an exchange of services or goods for money, and they know that their goods or services are going to get them more money. Why wouldn't they do it, right? It's almost greedy to ask them not to do it. That's kind of greedy, in my opinion. I've also told some people lately, it might not be the best situation for you to live in whatever area you're in. If you're living in Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, and it's expensive for you, I know you love that area, but for you, you might want to move a little bit further out of town because, in addition to a lot of other things, the rates have gone up. And now you can get a home that's priced less. The standard of living costs a lot less, and you're able to get by. Now, is there a pain associated with leaving the area you're comfortable with? Unquestionably, right? There unquestionably is. But you have to have a logical conversation with yourself and decide, is it worth it? But let's get into some additional things that you can literally do. These are not easy things, but they're other options you have, right? There are assumable loans out there, loans that my loan, let's say my loan is assumable. I'm not saying it is or isn't, and it's at 2.25%. You might be able to take over my loan and you can make payments on my loan if it's assumable. You still have to get approved and go through a process and everything else. And by the way, if I bought my home for, let's say, 400 grand and I'm selling it to you for 600 grand, and let's just say I have a $400,000 loan on my property, right? We still have to worry about the other 200 grand. So you're still going to have to get another loan, and that loan is likely going to be at a higher rate. Or you're going to have a lot of cash or something, right? There's going to have to be something involved with that. But don't forget that loans can be assumable. So make sure you're talking with a seller, a bank, a realtor, somebody who can answer the question of, is this assumable? And the more rates go up, the more you're going to start to see realtors who understand which loans are assumable and which aren't. And that's going to become an option for people, right? It's also going to be an option for sellers. What an amazing tool you can offer as a seller to tell buyers, hey, if you buy any other home that's, let's say, 500 grand, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars a month. If you buy mine, my loan is assumable. If you can get approved for that, this much of, let's say 300 grand of it, 300 grand of it is going to be at 2.25%. The other 200 will be at, whatever is negotiated, right? So your payment is going to be this. What a tool that is. And you have to have a savvy seller with a savvy realtor to be able to come up with those details. But it's doable. So don't forget that, sellers, right? Then you've got the last option. And again, this is challenging. I'm not saying that your odds are for this. Realtors are not going to like this at all. I'll explain why in a second. I think it's important you know that. But seller financing, okay? There are people out there who are more in love with a high price than they are with selling their home quickly. And we did this a lot as investors back in 07, 08, 09. And we go in, and this is when, your home was maybe worth 300, but now it's worth 2.25. And we come in and we'd say, hey, listen, we're not going to give you 300, but we're not going to ask you to sell for 2.25 either. Maybe we'll do it for 260, 270, whatever it is, but we're going to need some or all of it to be seller financed. Now, I know that's painful, but it's painful for us to pay 260, 270 on a home that's worth 2.25. So we're both feeling some pain here. The question is that pain worth it for you, or is it not worth it? And if it's not, it's not. That's fine. But if it is, and it gets you out of that home a little bit quicker, you might be okay with that, right? If you're a little bit more tied to a higher price, we can get it for you. There are a lot of buyers right now, I guarantee it, who would pay an extra 10, 20 grand on price. They're doing it just to get the house in this market. Would they do it to be able to get seller financing at a lower rate? Absolutely. But now here's the challenge. Typically, seller financing is 2-3 points above the rate you're seeing. So let's just say mythically that the rates currently are at 6%. Seller financing that is offered, which is usually on maybe 1, 2, 3% of properties, it's not a lot of properties, that rate's going to be 8 to 9%. If you're trying to negotiate a lower rate, it's going to be challenging. Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible at all. So back to, why do realtors not like this? Realtors don't like it because their odds of selling a property are this big. And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of phone calls and questions. It's lengthy negotiations. It's a lot of failure before the success. You might have to write up 30, 40, 50 offers to get one accepted. It's challenging. The reason I tell you this is because I want you to know, when you call a realtor and they brush you off, that's why. If you're serious about this, you need to find an aggressive realtor who gets it, one who wants to work, or you might have to do it yourself, right? But if you truly care about that, again, it's all about pain and pleasure. It's all about risk and reward. If you truly care about the lowest rate possible, or maybe you can't afford it, you might have to go to those lengths to get it done. But there are different things you can do. There are absolutely options out there for you. They're just challenging. They're challenging. But remember, a lot of people don't want to take on challenges, and a lot of people lead average lives. If you want to take on challenges, you want that amazing life, you have to do extraordinary things. And these are a couple ideas that gear towards that extraordinary mindset of getting yourself a better rate if that's what you want to do. Guys, if you've got any questions, feel free to put comments, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you want to send me a DM on Facebook, go nuts. I'll always get back to you. Always, always, always. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend, guys. Take care.